Liberals appoint a new housing minister. The Trudeau Liberals shuffled the deck this past week, replacing several key cabinet members. Amongst those change was our housing minister, Ahmad Hussein. He's out, which should come as no surprise, given house prices have doubled under the current government with an election not far away. Hassan's track record since he took the job in 2021, so he hasn't even been that long, has been eventful to say the least, and his tone-deaf op-ed a few weeks ago was a final nail in the coffin. So he basically tweeted something.
He's taking the blame for everything.
Yeah, but he basically tweeted something about the Conservatives being so out of reality with house prices.
Yeah.
As house prices have surged, rent has surged as well.
Right.
And you're the housing minister.
Yeah.
So it's a little ironic.
Yeah.
So he was replaced by a guy called Sean Fraser, who is the same guy in charge of immigration. So the same.
This one's a funny one, right?
Yeah. So the same minister that ramped up immigration to mind-blowing levels in the midst of a housing supply crisis is now responsible for fixing the problem that he helped created. Yes, this is from Steve Saretsky. Mm-hmm. Yes, the arsonist has now become the firefighter. It's really good.
Interesting. So I don't think that they even announced this. It was leaked that he and the people that were let go, they stood up to say, I will no longer be running for re-election as the minister. So they weren't, I guess, coming out and saying that they were fired. They were just saying, I'm not re-electing. And then it was leaked that he shuffled up the cabinet. And I read that somebody, I guess, asked Trudeau, is this because you're almost in agreement that the government has failed during your past 8 years in power? And he said, actually, it's very much the contrary. We're doing this to support further.
If you're firing people, something's gone wrong. Let's just say it how it is. Yeah. I know it's like, oh, we're replacing, but it's a nice way. It's kind of like going to, you know how realtors now, instead of doing a price decrease, they go price improvement.
Price improvement instead
it's still a decrease. It's the same thing, right? And like, why is he shuffling up the cabinet? Basically why he's doing it, and I believe there were 7 positions that he changed. Obviously housing, this is the point of this podcast, that's what we're going to focus on, is because he's losing votes to the Conservatives in the polls, and a lot of them are young people, and a lot of people do believe it's the surging cost of living and because of housing. So I think this is a key contributor
to gearing up for the next election.
Yeah.
Because this is him now able to say, look, we understand there's been some things in the past couple of years that have been outside of our control, like COVID. This is us rearranging things, but what we believe in is still the core of why you guys were our voters. Now we're going to change things around so that these crises we're not going into the future with the same problems or the next years of government. So I think it's him gearing up and him trying to get back some of the polls that he's losing. But the other governments are just slashing. And even the NDP, Jasmeet Singh, he was saying that over the last 8 years, the housing part of the government's job is completely failed. And it's interesting because they have a partnership,
a coalition.
So for him to come out and actually say the word failed while being in partnership with him, like that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, it's pretty extreme. So what has Sean Fraser said since being appointed? So he does say, naturally Canada's new housing minister says closing the door on newcomers is not the solution to the country's housing woes. The answer is, at least part, to continue to build more stock. Okay. But I would urge caution to anyone who believes the answer to our housing challenges is to close the door on newcomers. When I talk to developers in my capacity as a minister of immigration before today, one of the chief obstacles to completing the projects that they want to get done is having access to the labor force to build the houses that we need.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's his big kind of platform is we're not going to close the door to newcomers. Right. We need newcomers to come help build this supply shortage that we face.